At the dome, the time will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly.
Woke up this morning without a warning. Words were still ringing in my head. It came, it seemed within my dream, a gentle voice, and this is what it said. Stop now, you got to stop and listen to what I say. Stop and feel that you've been missing.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on February 19th of 2015. And I'll tell you what, Ramon, this has been talk about change. A lot of change happening in my life for sure.
Change.
Yeah, you know, and it's seems to be hitting the full spectrum, short of you know, completely relocating. I think everything else in my life has changed except for where I live. But wow, you know, this year. When it first started out, it was this year was quite. I don't remember how I described it in end of January. Kind of like just cruising along and moving, and you could feel that there was forward momentum, and things were changing and things were growing, but wow, and the end of this Mercury retrograde cycle, which it went direct on the 11th, if I remember right. Wow, everything that was building up through that whole cycle all hit right, boom, right at the end, and changes galore. I have opened up some new areas in my own life that, as far as my connections and my communications with spirit, and some really exciting stuff for me. And I think I mentioned on the last show last week that I do plan on doing some more Tom Speaks videos, and I apologize that it's not out there yet, but there's definitely one coming, and I may do it this weekend, Ramon. I actually have some free time this weekend that I haven't filled up yet. So how's things going over there in Japan, Ramon? It's been rocking and rolling over there a little bit this week.
Yeah, that was north from me. I think that was in the Miyagi prefecture, and there was like a tsunami warning, but nothing major happened up there. It was a 6.9, but I didn't feel anything down here. I'm like a 4 or 5 hour drive from Miyagi prefecture. That was one of the prefectures that got hit really bad during 3/11. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good here. But I got some interesting news that I found. And you know how I'm always talking about this next generation, and yeah, you know, on Facebook I always see the bad qualities of, you know, this next generation, the pants sagging down, the violent crimes, and, you know, the bad music, and the recopying of everything and doing everything exactly like everybody else and sounding like everybody else when it comes to everything. But then you get some of these guys like this young man, Boyan Slat, is 20, and he recently won an award from the UN for environmental award. And what he did was he created this machine that in 10 years time will clean up a large amount of garbage, and where he plans, I think he already has it there, there's an area in the Pacific that's called like Garbage Island, where all the plastic and all the garbage from around the world has been collecting
like
there.
The size of the state of Texas or some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and he's talking about he can clean that up by the time he's 30. So it's, it has this huge net that they put around, and this machine just goes cleaning the water, and it's amazing. It's not that complicated of a machine, and yet it was somebody from that next generation, that what they call the Y generation, or the hacker Y generation. I don't know who comes up with these names, but anyway, I'm very proud of him. And there's a lot of other kids in his generation that are doing their thing, and I'm so proud of them. In the next news, I have 7 sensational herbs for dream recollection, flying, and spirit communication. And I'll just read through them. Some of them I can't pronounce properly. I've never heard of them. Souza Dream Root is number 1. Vivid and prophetic dreams. Number 2 is Celastras paniculatus. Who comes up with these words?
Say that 3 times fast, please.
Yeah, okay. The elixir of life. Number 3, this is a well-known one. Blue lotus, mind, body, spirit herb. Number 4, wild asparagus root, fly by night. I never heard that wild asparagus root can do that. Number 5, excuse me, which I ordered recently, African Dream Beam, Master Spirit Connections. This one I'll speak briefly. It's a tree that grows in tropical areas, and the amazing thing about this tree is that it grows by rivers and oceans. So when the seeds fall, they're very hard, and they'll float, and then they'll float into other places, and they grow in tropical places. So they have other names in other countries. Number 6, Mexican tarragon. Grow a garden of herbs for dreaming. Number 7, mugwort. A versatile dreaming herb. I always thought mugwort as that place from the movie. What was that movie with the boy who's the wizard? Anyway, no. What was the name? Anyway, those are the 7 herbs. And moving on to the next story briefly. This one is sunken city off of Cuba. Officials ignore it for 10 years because it's one of time and out of place. It supposedly has these pyramid structures. That would be the west north. The very west coast of Cuba, very close to, I think that's the Nicaragua peninsula. Is that Nicaragua? I can't remember. Anyway, there's some video footage there, not the stuff, but radars of, a city there. And the next one, and the last, and then we'll get our guest back in here. And this is a homemade miracle drink. It turns gray hair back to its natural color. And the combination of stuff they use, I can definitely see that. 7 ounces or 200 grams of flaxseed oil, 4 medium-sized lemons, 3 small cloves of garlic, and 2 to 1 kilogram of honey. And you mix all of that together and let it sit there for about 2 weeks, and then you take a tablespoon of that every day. So
you eat it. It's not something you put on topically. You eat it, and your hair starts growing the regular color again.
Yeah, and supposedly it's really good for your skin. I know flaxseed oil, I hate to mention this on the show, but if you have a problem with flagellation, you take a fistful of flax seeds and you chew them, and it gets rid of it. So it's supposedly really good for your skin too. So, and great for your digestive system. That was one of the things that helped after I got really sick from my stomach, and that helped my digestive system get back on track. One of the things, many things I was doing. But anyway, Tom, we have an amazing guest who's been on our show several times, and I'm so happy that she has a new book. So tell us all about it, Tom.
We have Betsey Lewis back with us, and if you are regular 100th Monkey listeners, you will definitely recognize the name and the work that she's done. She is an international psychic medium and the host of the Rainbow Vision Network since 2009, Earth Mysteries Investigator, and Earthkeeper. Beginning at the age of 3, the paranormal became normal for her, with 2 UFO encounters and spirit contact from the other side. Betsey has researched and investigated UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, angels, aliens, and other Earth mysteries for the last 40 years. She practices Reiki, Kriya Yoga, astrology, tarot, and numerology, and regressive hypnosis. Her mentors on indigenous earth wisdom include Oglala Sioux ceremonial elder Ed McGaa, Eagleman, and the late spiritual leader of the Western Shoshone National, Corbin, Harney Nation. Ugh. Man, sometimes my tongue just does not work right when I read. But I would like to I'd like to welcome you back to the 100th Monkey Radio, Betsey Lewis.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be back on your show, Tom and Ramon. You're great hosts.
Thank you for making time for us. I highly appreciate you coming back on the show.
Thank you. You're talking about herbs, and sage is great for, just regular sage. It's, a spice. But if you ever have stomach problems, diarrhea, it's great. Fennel's good too, but sage is just a miracle. And take it with you. You can put it in little capsules, and it's amazing.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about sage.
Even the white sage that you use for burning?
No. Just the spice. Yeah, that you put, in your turkey dressing, sage.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I've got plenty of that growing outside, too.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Nice. So a new book, Earth Energy, Return to Ancient Wisdom. I'm so glad to hear about this book, Betsey.
Oh, me too. And I think it's so timely with everything that's going on with our planet right now. I think our planet is dying, and we have to get back to the natural way. We've got to get back to honoring everything, because everything has a consciousness. Everything is alive. And, my teachers, my indigenous teachers, and everything that I've read, the grandmothers, the 13 indigenous grandmothers that met from all around the world in Phoenicia, New York in 2004, they're all saying something is going to happen with our planet. It's going to go through some major changes, and we're already seeing these things. It's, the earthquakes are increasing, the volcanoes. We're hearing these mysterious booms all over. Linda Moulton Howe's been reporting on it, and nobody knows what it is. They're feeling these strange quakes that aren't even earthquakes, according to the USGS. And there's sinkholes forming, there's meteors coming in that we've never seen before, and asteroids flying by Earth. I mean, there's just a lot of weird things going on. And look at our weather. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it was almost 70 degrees here yesterday. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I saw Seattle too. Now you're in Oregon, right, Tom?
I'm in Washington.
You're in Washington. Okay.
Halfway between Seattle and Portland. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was it was gorgeous, and the rest of the country, you go, 100 miles east of here, and it starts getting colder and colder and colder the farther east you go.
Right.
They have a horrible cold spell going on back east.
Oh, yeah. And, from my dreams that I started having these recurring dreams when I was 7 years old, I've seen these things. I knew these things were going to happen. I've always expected them. And, I saw the winds. I mean, there's just going to be hurricane-type winds around the world. There's going to be strange weather, which we're getting right now. It's going to be, hot, cold, just major extremes. Hurricanes, tornadoes, just earthquakes that, are going to increase. All of these things are going to increase. And I want people to be warned and to trust Mother Earth, the animals, because there's always warnings.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, if you know where to look. I saw an article somewhere, I can't remember where, the Inuits, the older Inuits, they were saying that the weather has completely changed, that the world has shifted, according to them, because they were saying that it's not the same when they were younger.
Was that the BBC documentary on YouTube?
I can't remember. I can't remember where I saw it. So many different posts on Facebook.
It's amazing. It's still on YouTube, and it talks about Nibiru, Planet X, but they interviewed, I think it's the same tribe you're talking about, up near the Arctic and up above Alaska, and they were saying that the sun is not setting in the right place anymore. It's not going down a certain place, and the stars are all in a different area, and they think the Earth did something on its axis, or it's wobbling or something. But these people are outdoors all the time. There's things that we don't notice every day, but they do.
It's even things that we can't see because we live in cities, or even if you live in a small town, it's not the same as if you're up in the Arctic.
Oh,
and plus, we're seeing stars that we can't see from this longitude.
Right. My husband and I were in southern Colorado in October this past year, and we were looking up, and we could actually see the Milky Way. We were just astonished.
Yeah, that's an amazing sight. How do you feel about the whole thing of the way the media perpetrates global warming?
Well, I was just listening to the news tonight, and they were saying that January was the second warmest time for the whole Earth since, they've been recording. Even though we're getting, the East is getting horrendous cold, the Siberian freezes are calling it, or the Arctic Express, or whatever, they say it's the warmest. And, there's something going on with our planet, and it's affecting animals, sea creatures. We're seeing seals that are starving to death. For some reason, they can't get food. That's on the whole West Coast. There are sea stars that are melting from California all the way up to Alaska. I mean, thousands of them. And sardines are missing. Just strange things that are going on. And maybe some of that's from Fukushima's radiation. I don't know. But there's something going on with our planet. And, we're getting all the signs, like I said, with these booms, these mysterious booms that people are hearing all over the world. And it's not just in the United States. So I think we're getting these warnings, and I think we better start listening. But most importantly, we have to get back to trusting Mother Earth, and that's what my book is all about the four directions: the air, the fire, the earth, all the air, everything. It's all has a consciousness. And the Native Americans and all the indigenous people have always known that everything is connected, and that's where we've lost that connection. And we've got to get back to the natural way by talking to everything. I mean, the indigenous people talk to everything. They talk to the plants. They talk to the water because they know it has a consciousness. And that's been proven in scientific research and experiments too. So, we have to honor everything again. And how many, well, like you, Tom, you were telling me you were doing a sweat lodge, which is a great way to get back into ceremony. I think that's so important to do ceremony like you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we definitely lost in the Western culture is well, number one, just for men, that rite of passage into manhood. Indigenous cultures throughout history, there's always been some ceremony surrounding that threshold that a man walks through a child walks through between being a child and a man. And that rite of passage is gone. And you can see how it develops through Western society, but you can also, if you really sit back and think about it, there's something that happens inside us when we go through those ceremonies, and we do it with reverence. There's something that's turned on within us that happens through those.
Tom, I think you're so right on the money with that, because I think that's one of the reasons why teenagers are so compelled to the whole gang society, because they do have rites of passage. And, in order for you to get initiated into a gang, you usually either have to do something extremely violently or, fight like 4 or 5 guys and get your butt kicked. And if you can tough it out. I'm not saying that that's the right way, but that's why I can understand why these teenagers go that way, because something about us yearn for these rituals. So if society's not giving it to us, we make our own, and they're not necessarily the best.
Right.
And for a lot of us, it was the tattooing. That was a rite of passage for a lot of us. Again, we have to make up our own because our society doesn't provide it to us anymore.
Yeah, thinking back on it, and this is a spur of the moment thinking back for me personally, I suppose my rite of passage was at 15 years old, I ran away from home. I stuck my thumb out and left home. So that, that's, I suppose, if I had to put my finger on anything within my life that would fill that gap, it would have to be that. Definitely braving the unknown and stepping out. But
mine was jumping from rooftop to rooftop.
Oh, great.
Well, especially teenage boys, we look for it whether you provide it to us or not. And we don't even know it. We don't even know what we're doing. But when you compare it to other societies, I can definitely see that. So going back to, one of the things, like, especially in the Pacific, I noticed there's a lot of things that are being ignored. For example, it's a combination of things. There was a huge oil leak in the east coast of Africa. Then you have this large amount of these plastics that get from the from women's the facial cleansing.
Right.
That plastic, then you got the radiation. So I think these 3 things combined, and then you get the crazy weather.
Right.
You're going to have off these, crazy die-off. And we only always point the finger at one thing. But it's a combination of things. Yeah, exactly. But they never mention, maybe it's the trillions of tons of garbage you've dumped into.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing. We're dumping stuff up in the atmosphere, up in space. We're dumping it in our oceans. Our oceans are dying. We've got, like you said, plastics. 100 years ago, there weren't the plastics. And now the thing with plastic, it takes hundreds of years for it to break down. And radiation may never break down. It's forever, they say. So, the things that we're putting in the ocean right now, and when these plastics break down, the animals ingest them, and then we, fish for these animals, and they have the plastic in them. So we're getting the plastic. And look what's happening to humanity right now, the cancers, the children that are dying of cancers. When I was growing up, I don't remember any of my friends having cancer or any major health problems. Now we've got obesity. It's just horrible. And what we're doing to ourselves, we're dumping into Mother Earth with all the fear, the anger, the hate, and everything else. It's all being dumped into Mother Earth, and she feels it. We are electrical, beings, electromagnetic, and our energy is going into everything. So we've got to stop all this dumping into everything. And, I put that in my book because I offer ways that we can start honoring ourselves, loving ourselves, and, doing ceremony. There's prayers in the book, and there are ways that we can, recycling and just all different things that we can do to help Mother Earth. And I think once we get into the natural way again, I mean, the deep oil drilling and, what we're doing right now is taking the lifeblood out of Mother Earth, right? The oil, the water, everything. And then we're sticking all these chemicals in there with the fracking, and it's got to stop. It's
fracking things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. Absolutely. That's a good way of putting it.
One of the really frustrated things, because there's a lot of people who actually do their part. They do the recycling. They educate themselves. I think a lot of people, I see a lot of people do recycling here, for example, and, make sure they put the things in the right place. And it's not your everyday people who are, or everyday person, to speak correct English for once, that is dumping these major garbages into the ocean and the Fukushima and who knows what else. I think that's what's the most frustrating and belittling thing for a lot of humans is how can you compete with these major corporations that have just gone nuts, completely nuts?
Well, one thing, I love this saying the Dalai Lama said. He said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito, right?
Right.
I love that saying.
Yep.
So, the thing is, we can all do our part, and it starts with us, speak up. My teacher, Corbin Harney, he was the spiritual leader of the Shoshone Nation. He died in 2007, but he talked about all these things, and he was out there trying to stop all the nuclear testing in Nevada. He was out there protesting and everything, and he was a really holy man. He had visions of all these things that were going to happen about the water and everything, but he said, I used to be behind the bush, and what he meant was that he was afraid to speak up. And, so many of us are afraid to speak up. I mean, get out there and speak up, stop it. I've tried to do that, like animal abuse around here. I've seen a lot of it here in Idaho, and I've tried to speak up, and now we've got this ag-gag law. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you?
We have one in Japan.
A couple of years ago or a year and a half ago or something when it first came out. It's a real recent law, right?
Right. But the thing is, you can't go in and take photos. You can't take any videos of animals that are being abused because you'll get either fined $5,000 or thrown in jail for a year. And it's allowing these people to abuse animals. There was a big to do about these animal rights people that went into a big dairy farm here in Idaho and saw that these animals were being abused, horrible things. They were beating them. They were doing all kinds of things. And they had a video of it. And that's what caused the whole thing. And now we have this ag-gag law. So animals don't have rights. And, we've all got to start speaking up. I've tried to stop some horses that were being abused here, and I got nowhere, which really angered me because I called the Humane Society. And they said, well, we don't handle it. And then they sent me on to somebody else. And like they said that they couldn't get on the property because the owner was going to sue. And, it's crazy. Animals don't have rights. And, the thing is, we've got to start, honoring everything, animals too. And I'm talking about the animals we eat too. If you're not a vegetarian, you eat meat. We've got to, put animals in grazing grass, instead of these tight little enclosures, because it's more environmentally friendly if they are grazing in a pasture, and it helps everything. But here we are, we're putting them in enclosed areas and just filth. And, you know, they're loaded with hormones, and we're getting all these horrible hormones and the fear hormone in our bodies, and it's just out of control out there, guys.
Yeah, I always get asked a question, and I hate this question, but I can understand it, is why is it Americans are so big and fat? And I just say, well, you guys are starting to buy and eat the American meat. Keep doing that, and you'll see why.
Right.
So I just tell them that, because, of course, like, if you buy, like in Japan, if you buy American meat, it's like half the price of Japanese meat.
Yeah, right.
But then again, Japanese, like the Kobe beef, the farmers, they massage the cow every day. They take hot, warm baths.
Wow.
And they drink a beer.
Yeah.
A big size beer that's, you know, the life of the cow. So those cows get treated better than most people.
Right.
Right. So that's why they're so expensive. And then you get American beef is half the price, and sometimes even cheaper if you wait a couple days before it spoils.
Right. You know, and we've got all these additives too, you know, like we've got GMO soy that's put in everything, even your salad dressing, and sulfates and corn syrup that's put in there. When I was growing up, it was real sugar. And now you've got corn syrup, which is, I'm sure, GMO. It's not organic. And corn syrup isn't good for anybody. It's in, you know, your pet food, it's in everything. And, you know, I talk about that in the book too, about all these different things that we, you know, if we stop buying these things, the manufacturers are going to have to start taking these things out because no one's going to buy it. So it's up to us as, you know, the buyers and, you know, to stop this. You know, it's up to us. I'm
starting to see the effect of conscious people in the food market already.
Right.
I mean, there's so many companies and businesses and farmers that are going organic, are going non-GMO, and they're actually using the non-GMO thing as marketing, which is a good idea. It's smart stuff.
Right.
I mean, especially in our day and age, and they're seeing that this is definitely the trend that is happening. We are moving that direction. People are becoming much more conscious about what they're putting in their body. So all of us crazy folks out here on the fringe alternative media area, we're actually doing some good, right?
We are, but be careful of the labels because they can be really deceptive. You know, they put natural on there. Read the ingredients, because that's what you really have to find out. You know,
if you can't understand if you can't pronounce the word,
don't eat it. Right? Yeah, how true.
You know, the older generation too, because you know, he recently passed away, but my friend's father, he was a real big thing on that, and he died, you know, 92 years old. But he never allowed his wife to cook anything that was with cans. If he saw a can, he wouldn't eat it. Everything had to, like, especially with the beans could never be canned.
Oh,
she had to boil them for 3 hours. And if they want to cook beans, it had to be boiled. And so a lot of the older people, you know, they don't like to eat outside. And that's of any culture. That's one thing they all have in common. It doesn't matter what culture they are. Right. They don't like eating outside. They don't like eating fast food. To them, you know, that was something they saw come up when they were like in their 20s and 30s, and they just didn't like it. It wasn't the same. Right. So I guess they still remember that original taste, where the younger generations, you know, we grew up on McDonald's and 7-Eleven and fast food. You know.
Now, speak for yourself there.
Well,
I didn't, but, you know, I know. Kids now, their parents are too lazy or they're too tired. I understand that. They work jobs, and so it's so easy to go out and get a McDonald's with French fries and a milkshake, and feed the kid that, and people wonder why their kids are obese and have diabetes and all these other horrible things right now, and that's why, we've got to get back to the natural way. I love to cook fresh, and I buy vegetables. We've grown a garden, and I think getting back and growing your own garden is just a great way. If you can do it, do it. A lot of people don't live in the country or somewhere where they can grow a garden, but still, try and buy fresh vegetables and eat those. It's so great, and say a prayer to them too. Thank the plant for giving its life to you. Indians, when they cut down a tree, if they have to cut down a tree, they thank it and have a ceremony and thank the tree for giving its life. And, I think that's so amazing. I love that about indigenous people and how connected they are to the earth.
Yeah. With the whole thing as far as like like when I was growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, none of this was ever heard of. So the whole idea, and then you get another generation, my generation's having kids, and now they're becoming more educated. But for those of us who grew up in that generation, you didn't hear about that. But moving back to the whole garden thing, I live in a small place, and you can do it. There's a lot of creative ways that you can find online to do it in your apartment or a small balcony. Yeah.
Yeah, great, Ramon. True. Yeah, that's very good. Do you have a garden where you're at, or?
It's tiny. It's not like Tom gets enough stuff to hold him off for a year. I mostly like herbs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm planning to do beets because we can't get beets here. It's only canned beets. So.
Oh, great. Oh, good. Good for you.
So
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So in this past year, what are some of how did you get the connection with Mother Earth? What inspired you to write this book? Was it a dream or just what you've been going through since childhood?
Well, when I grew up, my parents loved the outdoors. My father did some hunting, and my grandfather had property in northern Nevada, mining property, so it was pretty remote. It's desert, high desert area, and we'd spend a lot of time there, and I would see all kinds of wild animals. Deer would come into our camp. There would be porcupine and skunk and just all kinds of animals, and I was around that. We would go up to the Sawtooth Mountains, Redfish Lake. My dad would fish up there, so I was around nature all the time, and I feel really blessed that I was. And then when I was 11 years old, going on 12, my parents bought a resort lake, and it wasn't a real fancy lake. It was down in the Snake River Canyon. It's still there, called Yerkes Lake. You had to drive up a dirt road about a mile to get to it. And I would live in the water. I swam this lake. It was about a mile long, 100 feet deep. I'd go up to the upper lakes, which there was small little crater lakes. There were animals. We had all kinds of, natural animals and pets, horses and dogs and cats and every kind of thing. Once in a while, we would help an owl. I remember us having a baby owl, feeding it, that somehow its mother had abandoned it, so we fed it and nursed it back to health, and just, great things like that. And I've just always had this reverence. Sometimes I would climb up on a hill or get on a big boulder that was down there and just meditate. And I would feel so connected to everything. And I would watch the clouds and just everything, listen to the birds. And I've always felt that connection. And I feel that maybe that's why I'm so connected with earthquakes, because I predict a lot of earthquakes, and I've been so right on. I've had dreams of earthquakes, and maybe that's that connection that I have, that reverence that I have for Mother Earth.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is also coming back, Betsy, is people's connection to the earth.
Right.
And yeah, it's this whole movement that appears to be happening on the planet, and the primary direction that it is pointing is getting back to nature. Absolutely getting back to nature.
Right.
I mean, we're becoming much more conscious about our environment. We're more conscious about what we're putting in our bodies. We're conscious about, what we're putting in our bodies is the big one. And the corporate world, whether they like it or not, they're actually starting to react. They're having to react. I mean, they have no choice but to react to this trend that is happening.
Yeah, people have to speak up more. I mean, that's what we have to do. And the indigenous people right now are saying that we're going from the fourth world into the fifth world, and everything is changing. And it says, I know there's a lot of spiritual people out there, and I know you have some great listeners out there, and you guys are real spiritual too. But, it's going to take all of us coming together to change everything. The indigenous grandmothers and the elders are all saying, the shamans, that we can lessen the earth effects that are coming up, the major earth changes. And they've been told by star beings that these major things are coming up. And I feel it too, that something's going to happen. And maybe that's to shake us awake, It's Mother Earth telling us we got to wake up and go back to the natural way. You can't treat me like this anymore. And once we do, and I think that's part of our evolution, because Mother Earth is evolving. Everything is evolving out there, I believe. How do you feel?
Oh, definitely. And and I know that you've stated that you think that the Earth is dying.
Yes.
Now that's one point that I think I'm kind of a little at odds with you on that statement. I think I actually think the Earth is doing just fine. The planet Mother Earth herself is doing just fine, but the environment and the ability for us as humans to exist on her is a completely different story. We're destroying our own ability to exist in cohabitate with Mother Earth. I don't think that there's much that. I mean, if Mother Earth wanted to, I mean, she'd just shake her back and shake us off like fleas on a dog. Yeah. And if we got to be that much of a pest, and that's kind of the way I see what's happening right now, is that we are, hey, these guys are starting to bug me. They've messed up my hairdo.
Right.
Hey, time for me to shake some of these fleas off.
But Tom, look at what's going on with the fracking. It's like an orange. We're taking all of what I call Mother Earth's blood out of her, and if you take all this blood out, the juice out of an orange, it's just going to be dehydrated. There's nothing inside. I believe, and this is what the Aboriginals say, they have a myth, a legend, that they came from another distant star when theirs was collapsing. And they said that they came to Earth to live here and balance the grid, the energy grid. And they say now that because we're taking out the oil, we're taking out all the minerals, the uranium, that the grid is no longer in balance. And we've got to, stop that. And it's just the lack of respect of what we're doing to our planet. Our planet really isn't that big when you compare it to all the other things out there. And it's so perfect. It's not too close to the sun to burn up. It's not too far away like Neptune to freeze or some of these other planets. I mean, we have an ocean. We have trees that give us oxygen. We have plants that give us medicinal, cures for probably every kind of disease and every kind of ailment there is, and yet we're destroying the rainforests. And if that's not destroying our planet, there's 7.2 billion people on the earth right now, according to, the different polls that they've taken. And, I think there's overpopulation right now. We're using up too many resources. We're taking out all the fish out of the ocean. And, we're chopping down all these trees, the clear cutting that's going on around the world. And there's just no reverence for anything. And I'm not saying us, but I'm saying, I was in Belize during the 90s. I spent a lot of time with indigenous people during that time, but I was down in Belize and I saw the clear cutting and burning down there, and I was crying. It just saddened me so much, because these people are planting orange groves and bananas to survive. And I understand that they have to live to plant these things, but we're losing so much natural medicinal plants that exist in the world in the rainforest. So that's my take. Tom, you can believe that, but I really do think that we can change things.
I think we're saying,
right?
I think we're saying the same things, just a little bit differently.
Right.
I think Mother Earth will survive no matter what humanity does to her.
Well, that's true.
But as far as the life on Mother Earth, the way we see life, I think that is definitely a different story.
Right.
They're definitely having a huge impact on our ability for us to survive here, and for so many other species that are coexisting here with us.
Right.
that we need to survive.
Exactly.
Like the bees.
We are symbiotic.
Right, we are. With everything, with grandfather sun, with grandmother moon, with everything. Everything is just so perfect for us. The moon and what it does, for the seasons and for the rhythm and the cycles for the ocean and for us, and the sun. It's just so perfect. And that's something like I said, we've just got to get back to that. And, the grandmothers and the ancient ones just talk about that, it's so important to get back to it. And even the star beings are telling them that we have to get back to that consciousness that, that everything is connected. We're one. All of us, everything, even the rocks have a consciousness.
Yeah. Here's the major issue and what makes this so tough, and I know they've created a system so it can be this way. And okay, so you have a peach that's grown in this town where I live at, and it's well taken care of, it's organic, it's non-GMO, it's an heirloom seed that's been passed down, from their grandfathers and things like that. And they've been in the business years, and they really put good work into it. But they sell a peach for $10 a piece. Now,
whoa.
If it's me and my wife and let's say 2 other kids, that's $40.
Wow.
Now, I can buy the Chinese one, not as good. Who knows what the hell's in it? But I can buy 4 of them for $3. Now, we do simple economics. And we can say, no, but you have to, nobody can really afford to spend $40 on just fruits. Either we skip the fruits altogether because our other choice is, and that's what they always do to these families. So if you have a family, of 2 and 3 people, that becomes a realistic thing. Again,
Sure.
Whether you're talking about vegetables and fruits. And, and then I think us as living in these kind of countries like the US, Europe, Australia, Japan, we have to set an example, because we can easily tell those people who live in a dilapidated house, you guys need to stop cutting down the forest, and you need to stop doing that. It's like, well, find me a better way for me to feed my family, and then I'll stop doing that. And that's one of the things we have to address. Until we address that, they're not going to follow and saying, we want to protect Mother Earth, because the reality is I want to eat and I need to survive, more important, even though they're killing themselves in a different way.
Right. Don't you get anything imported, like the vegetables from the U.S., or is that kind of a rare thing?
Oh, we get vegetables imported from the U.S., but it's not the organic stuff.
Oh, really? Really? I wonder why.
No, we get imported.
The organic stuff isn't going to survive a boat trip.
Yeah.
Really?
It's gonna be the stuff from Costco, and it's cheap. It's much cheaper than the stuff grown across the street from me, because there's a farm across the street from me, but they sell it at such a high price. And then I buy the stuff from either U.S., China. It's gonna be from the major corporate companies, and because of the whole TTP thing, where they've dropped down the price of exporting and importing. So now Monsanto got their foot back into the farming, and the way they did it was actually extremely smart on their part, because the farmers were fighting them tooth and nails here. So what they did was they said, okay, during your off-growing season and your growing season, we're gonna pay you the same amount monthly, whether you grow nothing or grow a lot. So it balances out. So the farmers, again, it's between feeding my family and growing organic. Well, by the way, here's the seeds I want you to use, and here's the stuff I want you to spray. And then they don't really have a choice.
Right.
And that's going back to economics. We need to find a better way to address that in order to fix these problems.
Right. Yeah, right. And we've got to get back to alternative forms of energy, too, to save the earth. We don't have to do the oil. There are so many other things that we can do. And, electricity and wind power and sun power and solar, there's just so many other things. But the oil companies aren't going to allow that. You know that.
Well, I read an article recently where India supposedly is really trying to push on that, because they don't have any foothold in the oil or nuclear kind of thing. They're buying things from other people, so they're like trying to push towards that way, and again, because of necessity.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But I think the price of the solar panels they don't cost that much to make. I think they really have pushed the prices on them. What did those solar panels cost you, Tom?
I got those. Geez, what was it? 3 years ago, and I've got an array that will do 75 watts in cloudy weather. So it hits about 120 somewhere in there in direct sunlight, and I think I paid $375 for it or something like that.
How big is it?
It's about 4 foot by 4 foot. So it's not that huge of a panel, but it puts out enough power that if I had the right battery bank set up, I could probably. Oh, even here in Washington State, I could get up. How do I rate this? How do I quantify this? I could probably run, like a refrigerator every day for like 4 or 5 hours on what the power would equate to coming out of the battery bank and recharge. So I mean, it's not big. What I do have is not big, but it shows me that it doesn't take that much to be able to just live on solar for power. Some of the solar rigs and solar systems that are out there are really spendy, and to set up a system to an off the grid type system, especially up here in Washington State, it's not very practical to do. You have to have a backup generator of some kind here. We just don't have the sunlight here, so. But it's a very viable option in a lot of places. I'm actually more excited about some of the other technologies that have been worked on, and we've seen out there. It's a matter of just getting it in some sort of a format that is accessible to the public, and getting through or past all the regulations and the the blocks that are there and put in place by the oil companies and the corporations that are keeping us from accessing these technologies. I mean, there's some magnetic motors out there that are amazing.
Right.
But getting them in a place here in the United States is, in some place where it's accessible to the general public. Yeah, that's going to be a far stretch and hard to do. So many of these technologies that people have developed have been snapped up by the government and classified as a national security threat.
Right. Now, aren't there some inventors out there that keep talking about free energy?
Right.
And, some people say it's pseudoscience and it doesn't exist, but I kind of wonder, it's kind of Tesla-ish, I think.
Well, supposedly in Russia, they have a working Tesla tower. I saw something on Reuter, what was that? Not Reuter, Russian TV, RT, where they have a working one, supposedly. I think people, those of you who are good technicians, you gotta start like making your own solar panels and probably even selling it and stuff like that. And if you're an inventor, you gotta open source these things. I know you need to feed your family and you want to make money for your hard work, and I understand that, but it's getting to the point where we're starting to get desperate,
Yeah, and that's another big card there you just brought up there, Ramon, that is keeping this stuff from getting into the public hands, is that there is, people want to make money off of this stuff. They develop something like this, and the dollar signs start flashing in front of their eyes. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Betsey, we are about at the top of the hour, if you can believe that already.
No, I can't.
It is. It's amazing. We get on with you, and time just flies.
It does.
So would you share with our audience out there where people can pick up this the new book, Earth Changes, Return to Ancient Wisdom?
Earth energy, actually. Yeah, that's okay. Close. Yes, it's on Amazon, and it's in softcover and ebook right now. And I'll be doing a lot of talk shows like yours coming up, and it looks like probably coast to coast in the next month here. So they can go to my website, BetseyLewis.com, and Betsey is BETSEY, Lewis, LEWIS, and you can click on my events calendar, or just also go to my Earth News One blog, and I have everything that's going on, predictions, any earthquakes that are going on, these booms. I'm staying, on top of all that. I'm posting any kind of solar activity because that goes along with the earthquakes. So UFOs, we're getting a lot of UFO reports all over the world. So I've got a lot of things on there, and I hope they'll visit the website and check it out.
Cool, and we'll get into some of your visions and dreams
Cool.
in the next hour. Tom?
Sounds good.
Yep, good stuff. All right, guys, if you're out there listening on one of those other formats, the YouTubes, the Vimos, the iTunes, the Podbeans, the wherever this lands, and you want to check out the second hour, you are going to have to go over to www.the100thmonkeyradio.com, where you will find 4+ years worth of interviews and a lot of really good information there. And actually, the last couple of shows we've done with Betsey are there also. So I would urge you to pop on over and take a look. And we will be back as quick as it takes you to click on the next show. So, condemnation. I got that from you, Ramon. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
Namaste.
Stop and feel that you've been missed on along the way. Put aside your petty fight, serve your dignity. You've got to show the heart that you've been hiding and set it free. message trying to reach you. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. It came the same way the very next day. The words they just kept on coming through. Hard to conceive if you believe me. This is what you really want to do. You got to tune into your inner being. Now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision. Now let it see. Cast out the doubt, the mindless chatter. Now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. 'Cause don't you know there's just one cure in a world gone wrong. We only know it. And if the cure for one is the cure for all, step right up and don't be shy. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. It's really all quite simple in the end. You got to tune into your inner being. Now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision. Now let it see. Cast out the doubt, the mindless chatter. Now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. 'Cause don't you know there's just one cure in the world gone wrong. Up and don't be shy. Got to look yourself right in the eye. There's a magic moment trying to meet you, an urgent message trying to reach you. The phone is ringing off the wall, so pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Pick up the call.